Welcome back to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. It's Friday and the weekend is upon us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. If you're watching us on Rumble, please hit the follow button, hit the Rumble button, hit the like button. If you're watching on any major podcast streaming platforms, please like, share, and subscribe. So on today's episode, I'm going to have a special guest. This is Pete from POCNY, and I'm going to let him tell you all what his organization is about and what he does. And without any further ado, let's just get right to it. All right, so on today's show, I figured I'd bring on someone who's, I'm getting to know them a lot better. Of course, they're a fellow paisan, but he's doing something that's very unique, and I don't see anyone else doing this, especially out in Staten Island, which is the forgotten borough of New York. So, on the Sal Greco Show here is my friend Pete. Pete, I want you to introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do exactly, because I see you on Instagram. I see a lot of your stuff. You do great work, but tell the audience what it is exactly that you do and who you are.
Thank you, Sal. My name is Pete DiMiceli. I am the president of Protect Our Children. We're a nonprofit organization. We have several members. My vice president is Ed Wyattrek. He is boots on the ground. We are out there spreading awareness every day, protecting our children. We are working alongside of Community Affairs Police Department, the schools, the parents. We are bringing awareness to all sorts of issues that are going on with this broken system that we have, and we are the voice for the children, man. We're you know what I mean? We are the voice for the children who have no voice.
I see, because almost I'd say every couple of days, I see you always put up a flyer or something of someone that's missing or someone who's wanted for exactly what you're saying. And it's very important, because I remember as a police officer, we used to have the same thing. And we have to put out a wanted poster or whatever. We never, unless you have people in the community that are helping, they're just going to, whoever passes by sees this thing, but it's not like everyone knows. So I think you're doing a great service for not only New York, but, Staten Island in general. So I don't know if you want to talk about exactly, what it is that you continue to do now. So like in regards to missing children, or how do you come about getting the flyers and the videos you put together, and how you even find out about this stuff? Because again, I only see you doing this. I don't see anybody else in New York City or Staten Island doing this.
Well, we've made great relationships with the NYPD out here, with the Community Affairs Office out here. We're making relationships with folks out in Suffolk County, which is like the epicenter for missing children. But like, Sal, just to give you like some statistics on how many missing children are in New York, over 12,000 missing children go in New York every year. And 94% of those children are runaways, Sal. They're runaway children, and 8% of them are addicted. So like the numbers, like if you look at the numbers, that's 160,000 children that are addicted, and that are runaways, that are addicted, that are on the streets, man. And that number is epic. You know what I mean? It's something that like at nighttime, when I think of those numbers, I can't sleep, man. Like I'll be pacing my living room just thinking about these children. And like sex trafficking in New York, we have the highest rate of sex trafficking in New York. We're talking over 51% of these children are being trafficked 7 days a week, up to 20 times a day. So if you put that into perspective, they're being violated 140 times a week, which is absolutely disgusting, man. And the target age is from 12 to 14 years old, Sal. And it's just it's ongoing. You know what I mean? We are a voice for the children. We're the voice for the unspoken. We try to get out every day. We have boots on the ground. We have our members. We have 20 members that are vigilant in being out every day in front of the schools. The parents drop off the kids to school, but a lot of times they're not there to pick them up. So we're watching the bus stops. We've been on the MTA, on the trains, on the buses. You know what I mean? We're out there every day bringing awareness to the parents with flyers, social media platform. We've definitely been a part of a lot of searches that are going on for missing kids. We were part of the 14-year-old girl in Patchogue, Long Island. We teamed up and we started a search party with some dogs out there, some drones in the sky, and thank God she was brought home safely. You know what I mean? And this all runs into our current administration, man. Like they are lacking. I mean, it's money's being spent, and it's not being spent in the proper places, and it should be spent, as far as I'm concerned, in more hires of people that are educated and doing their job, more social workers. You know what I mean? We have a lot of, from what I see, is there's a lot of, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. There's a lot of DEI hires that these folks are just hired, you know what I mean? And they have no qualifications to protect our children. Their caseloads are overloaded. And that goes back to, these children aren't protected, because if they're overloaded on cases, it might take them weeks to investigate something. And within a week, that child could be dead and gone. So this is, this falls on the department. This falls on our administration, And
that was the next thing I wanted to ask you was the legal system or the legalities of this. Is there any help? Have you ever had any help from, let's say, the governor, Kathy Hochul, or the party all the time mayor, Eric Adams?
Oh, first of all, Kathy Henchman Hochul, she is zero help. She's the reason why there's bail reform going on right now. She's the reason why these criminals are turned right back out on the street after they violate our citizens, after they violate NYPD officers. I mean, as far as Eric Anarchy Adams, he's too busy partying uptown. He's too busy spending all his money, taking backdoor deals. And what I've seen is over the years, the only thing that's changed, it's changed from ACS to CPS, but nothing in between. They just changed the name, but nothing in between has been done to protect our children. The foster care system is out of control, where they're placing these kids. The funding. Where's our funding going? Where's the money going? Why aren't the money going towards protecting our children? You know what I mean? Why is the money going towards an administration that is doing absolutely nothing for the rehabilitation of our children, man?
Listen, you just mentioned something. I remember that Eric Adams himself said when he was a teenager, he actually went to, I think it was Spofford for something he did, and he went back to his parents. So I would think that somebody who grew up in that kind of a situation, despite we know that he idolized the Supreme Team, a crack dealing gang, a gang that was the reason why you had the 94 crime bill, basically. But I would think someone like him would resonate with him. But yet, him as the mayor, his office has never reached out to you or your organization. And of course, you're saying Kathy Hochul hasn't either as the governor.
Absolutely. None of them have reached out. And like you said, due to his background, you would think he'd be more proactive with what's going on. But what's happening here is that, you can't be a pimp and a prostitute at the same time. And that's what these folks are doing. That's what the administration's doing. I mean, even down to Alvin Braggs. I mean, evil Alvin Braggs. I mean, this man is just out of control. You know what I mean? He should be standing up for New Yorkers. The mayor should be standing up for New Yorkers. Kathy Hochul should be standing up for New Yorkers. The children. I'm about the children. What are you doing for the children? You know what I mean? You're too busy, worried about congestion pricing, worried about these speed cameras, that if, it's just a money grab. It's an absolute money grab. And unfortunately, while they're being greedy, they are not, taking care of our children. There's no funding going on. This bail reform umbrella that was put into place by Kathy Hochul has tied the hands of the district attorney to keep these criminals in jail. And it just blows my mind. Like we have a teacher just recently, a 44-year-old Michael Shanley, who's a teacher from Princess Bay, who was arrested for texting an 11-year-old girl thousands of times between February 1st and February 8th. And because of the bail reform, the DA could not put any bail on this guy, and he was ROR'd back into the streets. Now, who's to say that this guy isn't back on the computer, violating other children, and giving them a life sentence, man. So that's why it's so important for this bail reform when it comes to our children. I mean, I'd love to see bail reform go away, period. But I mean, we started a petition that we want to get bail reform, just revoked when it comes to child predators, man, because the children are our future, and it's our job to protect our children.
I tell you, one long time ago when I was a cop, and this guy that I knew him for a long time. He came over to me and he goes, guy was locked up. It was a DWI, and it was children in the car. So you have to call ACS, see where the mom is, or even the mom's there, because obviously a drunk driver, it's Leandra's law. And he came over to me and goes, Sal, don't remember, we need to protect the little ones. Because he had one of those arrests himself. So I'm with you, because I feel like this is a failure. And just to point out, the bail reform, which was enacted by Kathy Hochul, was actually started by the guy trying to become the next mayor of New York City, Andrew Cuomo. But I guess that's forgotten now. Nobody wants to discuss, bring that name up anymore. So, Pete, what do you think about legislatively what we could do to change this in New York City? Because legislation trying to change it, obviously you need to elect people that will, be sympathetic and be like, we need to bring this up for a vote or whatever. So I think you have a perfect candidate in Staten Island that's now running for city council, Frank Morano. I know him, and I know he could take this up. But of course, there's more than just one city council person. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. But what do you think on how you could go about legislatively changing the laws so you don't have bail reform and you can hold some people accountable, especially, this maniac just got taken out in an ROR. That's disturbing. Disturbing.
The legislation change. I mean, we are putting forward a bill called the Child Protection Offender Accountability Act, and we are in the process of writing up that bill. We do have some great assemblymen behind us that are for this. We have this petition out right now that we are looking to get as many signatures as possible on this petition. This way we can get this bail reform revoked. We are ready to come April. At the end of April, we are going to be heading up to the assembly up in Albany, and we're going to have our voices heard. Whether that means me handcuffing myself to the front doors, but this petition and this legislation, I'm going to push forward no matter what, because the protection of our children is the most important thing to me. People are being released without bail. I mean, it's insane to me. It's insane to me that these predators just get to walk free. It's insane to me that the citizens of New York, and especially of our little, we have a little borough here, Staten Island, man. Yeah. We're small, but we're a mighty borough, man. And our children's voices need to be heard. And it's guys like yourself, that put this stuff out there. It's many guys. My members are so strong. They anytime that we need to get something done, the members of POC are right there. My vice president happens to be on the street every day of the week with our members. Like I said, they're at the bus stops, they're at the schools, they're outside. We have another gentleman, John McCone, who's part of our movement. There's several people. I have a mentor, John Curley, who is an investigator, 31 years when it comes to child crimes, and he's investigated some horrific crimes, and has testified on behalf of the state. And he's my mentor. He's my go-to guy. We have great people like that have run in parallel with us. We have organizations that are running parallel, like Fuzz, Mighty Fuzz. He runs parallel with us. Jesus is another. Jesus AOK News. He's another great man who is about the protection of our children. The Department of Education, what are they teaching? There's a lack of social workers. The people that they put in place do not have the education, and you could blame that you could blame it on the administration not having funding for it. Absolutely, 100%. You could blame it on the DEI hires that they've been doing. Let's just hire somebody, but not somebody who's qualified to do the job. The overload of cases that these folks have, man. If you got 30 or 40 cases of children being abused and you're one person, it might take a week or 2 weeks to get to that person. And by then, who knows what's going to happen, man? So, like, where's the funding going? You know what I mean? Like where's the money going, and why isn't more programs like my own program and other programs out there that are actually doing something to protect our children? Then why are we not getting any funding? Why are we, why is like our children the last thing on the burner? And you've seen it in Staten Island when you know what I mean. Like, I think that we were targeted. As a red borough, I believe that we were targeted with these shelters of these unvetted people that were coming in here. And I'm not saying that all of them are criminals, but I mean, as we could see from just the recent uprising of crime across the United States, a lot of these folks that come into the country are killing and hurting our children.
Wasn't one of those migrant shelters that was put there, by the way, by the illustrious mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, who now, I guess, wants to pass himself off as Blue MAGA, as Eric Dim of the Finance and Filters like to say. Wasn't that one of those shelters put across the street from a school?
It absolutely was put across the street from an all-girls school, kindergarten through 12th grade, within 25 feet. They were claiming that it was going to be a family shelter, but we've seen for our own eyes, and I don't know what the media was reporting, but we've seen for our own eyes exactly what was coming into that shelter. And they were 18 to 20-year-old males that were undocumented, unvetted, and Staten Island stood up. And we stood up and we made sure that that place was closed down, and other shelters in Staten Island. The domino effect happened right after that. And thank God, because out of all the boroughs, we are the borough that hasn't had any problems when it comes to these illegals that came into this country, hurting our children. There's not many reports in Staten Island of that happening, as you see all over Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island. So it's very, very it's very disturbing that Adams just targeted Staten Island, and I believe he targeted because we're a red borough, and something needs to be done. I mean, he seems to have gotten his pass, I believe that he should be indicted for his crimes, man. He's a criminal. He's a criminal, and he needs accountability needs to be held for all of them, from Hochul to Adams to all of his administration. And you see them; some are retiring; they're scattering like roaches right now, because they're all scared. They're all scared that something's going to come down. And I don't believe that he should have got a pardon. I really don't, Adams. I believe he should be held accountable.
Well, actually, he didn't get a pardon. What they said is they dismissed the case on political grounds, which is entirely unethical and more than likely illegal. But they're entitled to do what they want. But now you're seeing that the judge in the case, he put a it's the equivalent of a special prosecutor to argue for the defense of why or how this is going to be dismissed, because there's no merits to this case being dismissed. And for everyone who is watching, I'd like to reiterate once again, coming from the Southern District of New York, the former head, who she actually unveiled all this stuff, the investigation into Eric Adams did not start like people like Brian Kilmeade on Fox News, a propagandist, will state that Eric Adams, he's being targeted because he was the only Democrat that stood up to the migrant No. Listen. His investigation started in 2017 under the original Justice Department under President Trump. Yep. That is a fact. This is a fact. Yep. That's a fact. So for people that want to throw up this pom-pom for the guy, start reading and looking into things, find the documents, read them, and then you'll go, oh, wait a minute. Because what they're doing here, Pete, they love to hit these low information narratives. So what they do is they're in the business of perception management, because that's all these people care about. If you're a politician, you're in an administration, perception management, how you perceive them is how they can move forward. So they have to control narratives. And how? They hook you in with these low information hook lines, and they target low information people and voters, because that's how you stay in power. You certainly don't want someone who's given, hey, I don't know about that. Hey, Pete, that thing, this guy says he's, against the migrant shelters, but he's bringing in thousands of unvetted illegals across the street from a all-children's school, all-female school. So you and I think about things and look at things and are critical of things, whereas they want to target the ones that just say, hey, Eric Adams shops at the same store as me. We got to vote for him. He's a good guy.
Right,
oh, wait. Yeah, we go and play the same hip hop music together. Oh, that makes me forget about any other issue and just look at that. And that is what they target. Low information people. You see it every weekend. This guy says, God ordained me to be the mayor. Really? You really need to scratch your head and go, really? But again, that's the truth of that. I don't know if you want to comment any further, and I just want to lay a couple of facts down.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, education is power, man. And like you said, they do target the low information people. But listen, I suggest everybody, all those documents are public documents. You could read into it. You could find out exactly what's been going on. You could go back to 2017. You could look at everything. Everything's black and white. There's nothing there. So those folks that aren't taking the time out to educate themselves, those are the folks that are, all right, go ahead, Eric Adams. You're a great mayor. You're a good man. He is not. He's going to go down as one of the worst mayors in New York City. I can guarantee you that. You know what I mean? Just get educated, folks. I mean, read your rights, read the Constitution, read what's going on in the city. Don't just listen to the mainstream narrative because it's all propaganda. It's all about to make a person look better than what they really are, man. And like, I'll call you out, man. I'll call anybody out that needs calling out. I mean, as you can see in my videos that I put out there, like, I'm not afraid. There was an NYPD officer here in Staten Island that, I mean, you took an oath to protect and serve, and you violated a young child, and that child now has to do life in prison without the possibility of parole within its own mind for the rest of its life. And you're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to the badge and any other officer. And he's not the first one, and I'm sure he's not going to be the last one. But like guys like that, I call right out, man. Like you're an evil predator. You're an animal. You're an animal, and you deserve 100 years plus one. You deserve never to see the light of day. If it was up to me, it would be a mandatory death sentence, to be quite honest, because I don't want to pay for you to sit in jail for the rest of your life. I really don't. I'd rather see you gone in 7 years and it be over with. Because there is no cure for pedophilia. Unfortunately, they get out and they just repeat and reoffend. So we'll never get New York because of the demographics to agree life in prison without the possibility of parole. But we damn sure could get a mandatory bail put on these folks. We damn sure could get, legislation behind it to make sure that these animals are not back out on the street the next day to hurt our children, man.
Listen, I like what I'm hearing. Of course, I always believe in the rule of law, though. So if the guy deserves to be in jail for 1,000 years, so be it. But I understand the fury inside you. I'm knowing this guy. Morally, we all say, yeah, right, he should be, forget it. Like, this guy should be. But it's like vigilante justice where we have justice to he should be in a jail cell for the rest of his life. Of course, that person may have to be put in a special area because the other inmates normally don't like hearing that they have some kind of pedophile running around in the prison. So I know
they get put in a yellow bandit area. That's where they go.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but again, like you just mentioned, this guy's a teacher, cop. This is like almost like they're municipal workers, so they have access to you and your children all the time. And then they commit these heinous acts. I don't know. I think that merits a bigger sentence than usual, no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It should be a mandatory. There should be a mandatory sentence for folks that harm our children, man. I mean, there's another case right now out in Long Island. I mean, Long Island happens to be the epicenter for missing children and child trafficking right now. I mean, the Hempstead, the Suffolk County out there, it's every day. These children are going missing. Most of them are runaways. They're getting addicted, and then they're getting pimped out, and they're getting trafficked. And right now there is a firefighter out there that was from Farmingville Fire Department. His name is Justin Russo, and Mr. Russo was forcibly touching a 14-year-old at a volunteer event, and he also got arrested for that. And he was the insurance company for Farmingville paid out 6 figures to the family, and this man was never reported to the EMTs up in Albany. So I'm making it my business to make sure that this man is reported. And I was just on the phone with an investigator this morning because they moved him from Farmingville to a county right over, and he's still being paid to be a fireman, and he violated his oath. And this is what's going on, man. And it's just not acceptable for a guy like me, man. It's not acceptable for any parent out there, any grandparent out there. I mean, these are our children. This is our future, man. If we don't stand up and speak out for them, nobody is gonna, and they're left to these animals that are out there every day preying on our kids.
So it's kind of like what you're trying to do is close the loopholes that the legal system or the system in itself has in order to try to, get away or pry away from the issue. Because obviously he got in trouble already. He should have already be facing a court case. How is he allowed to go over to the next town and be a firefighter? That's incredible.
Right.
It's almost like there's no laws protecting victims here.
Right. There's no justice for these children. There's no justice. There's no laws for these children that are protecting these children, man. I mean, you talk about the long-term effects that these children have, man. I mean, let's talk about like long-term effects of being raped or trafficked is then there's a trauma bond. There's addiction. You know what I mean? There's degradation, possible suicide. You know what I mean? From one action, from one evil human being, this child is now going down the road of just ugliness and emptiness, man. And it's just beyond me how these folks are allowed to operate, how the system isn't the legislation in the system isn't just very hard when it comes to these things. Like when it comes to our children, it has to be a cut and dry thing. You know what I mean? You violate one of our children, there has to be a minimum sentence that you have to do, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think this is stories that I'm hearing are becoming too common. Whereas, when you and I were growing up in New York City and Staten Island and Brooklyn, I grew up in Brooklyn. This was not something we really heard a lot about because, you heard one or two stories, and those guys that ended up either, involved in a criminal case, or maybe they think they got away with it. They really didn't get away with it. I mean, it was just a different time. And now, again, New York City seems like it's pro-criminal. They like the criminals. They favor criminals. The laws favor criminals. And it's
a numbers thing, Sal. You know what I mean? How many arrests? Okay, so we had X amount of arrests, but how many convictions did you get out of that arrest? You know what I mean? You don't hear those numbers. You hear that crime is down in New York, crime is down in Staten Island. Unfortunately, it is not. I mean, that's what the media wants to report, but those numbers and that statement is the furthest from the truth, man. I mean, there's people in the South Shore of Staten Island that their homes are being broken into. You see it every day in the paper. You know what I mean? Mainstream media doesn't report it. You see it on the social media platforms of the people's houses that are getting broken into. They're posting stuff about, be on the lookout for this or be on the lookout for that. Crime is definitely not down in Staten Island, and I would say across New York City, it's definitely not down. Although the numbers like to portray that.
Well, technically, their numbers where they show you the big billboards, they'll tell you, oh, crime is down. They're nitpicking, cherry picking the last couple of days. But then there's a gentleman by the name of Sam Antar, and he's on X. He has whitecollarfraud.com. I had him on my show a few weeks ago. Well, he describes those numbers, and he does a further check into it. And when you look at it, violent crime is actually up, and the highest it's ever been in the last 20 years. Yeah. And you could actually see on the graphs how it starts low just around when Eric Adams, right before he became mayor, then during the pandemic, or right after the pandemic, I think, right, it just escalates underneath Eric Adams. Yeah. So you are right, because by the numbers, and I'm talking about the real ones, they don't want to show you these things, the violent crimes, it's up. And it's up about 25 to 30%.
Right. Which is making for the city to we need to take a push back, man. We need to push back. Folks like you, myself, we need to push back, and we want answers, man. We the people want answers. You work for us. We don't work for you. You know what I mean? You're not being transparent. and we need transparency. We're at a time, I think, Sal, we've come to a time, with everything across the board that we, the people, demand transparency. We want to know what's going on. And if you're not being transparent, then what are you hiding and what are you protecting? You're protecting your own pockets. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, you could go as far as these speed cameras, man. These speed cameras are ridiculous in Staten Island, man. It's a money grab. They don't want to put speed bumps in front of the speed cameras. Why? Because it's a money grab. It's just another way to make more money from the people in New York instead of, okay, you want to take the speed cameras? Take that money and put 50% of that funding towards protecting our children. Put 50% of that funding towards educating these social workers. Put 50% of the towards the DOE. Put better people in office, better social workers in the schools, better advocates. We have pedophiles getting arrested, and they get appointed a lawyer if they don't have money, but the child doesn't get appointed an advocate to speak up for them. How is that even like what the conception that just blows my mind? So you get a free attorney because you violated a child, but that child doesn't get an advocate to speak for them. They get the DA to say what the charges are, but there's no child advocacy that's speaking up for that child to send the point home.
That is so troubling. And, and I wanted to see now what's to come from all of this, because I know you're working hard and you've even become associated with the other guys there in Long Island. So what's to come with all of this? Because again, you don't see movement from these legislators, the people in charge legislatively to do anything about this other than status quo. Status quo isn't working. So how do you move forward doing this?
We POC. I mean, we are in the process of providing parents with direct care for children in need of drug addiction and mental wellness. Because we feel that if we could stop the addiction, then we could stop the trafficking. You understand? So we have programs set up. We are definitely moving into Long Island area, into the Suffolk County area, where the epicenter of this is going on. We're branching out into there. We have child advocates that work with us. We have social workers that are on our team. We have child advocates that are on our team. We have private investigators that are on POC's team. I mean, and we are being very, very proactive in stopping the addiction and stopping the trafficking. We are direct care when it comes to the children. We're not just one of those nonprofits that are going to go like this, like the Adams administration and the Holcomb administration. Who did it? Which way did it go? That ways. No. POC. We are about the children. We have rehabilitation set up for children. We have mental health people that work with us for the children, and we are going to continue our efforts to make sure that we get legislation changed that actually protects our children. We're not just going to change names from ACS to CPS. We are going to be that in between that forces New York City and New York State to protect our children.
Amen to that. And just to show people, he has a website. I want to show you this right here. You can go right to it's POCNY.org. And you see right here, look, you could donate. Yeah. Look, right here. There's a donate button. Protect Our Children NY. See? He gives you a whole rundown of what the organization's about, what they're doing. You have people commenting. It explains a lot. I mean, this is ground. Like, this is what community activism is really all about. It's doing this. And I love your organization. I mean, I'll do anything I can to help. I mean, look, people come out, as you could tell, and this Pete is out. They're out with people and they're doing protests, just like what happened with the migrant shelters. Pete was there. Pete was there with these rallies they have in Staten Island.
I mean, we went as far down as to Texas. When the border was open down there, we went down to Eagle Pass, Texas, to give a hand down there to make sure that we could keep these evil predators away from our children. I mean, we are very active, and the biggest thing I want to talk about is that we need signatures on this petition that's out. If you go to my Instagram page, it is on the Instagram page. The first thing that you click on. If you go to POCNY.org, it'll be on that. Please sign here. It is the Child Protection and Offender Accountability Act that we're looking to get pushed forth in legislation.
That would be this. That would be this.
Yeah,
This.
That's it right there. That's what I, folks. This is where we the people come in. This is where we the people are the cure. Everybody out there listening, please get on this. Sign this petition. This petition is to make mandatory bail to anybody who violates our children. This bail reform, when it comes to our children, needs to be revoked. And this is the first step of getting that to happen. So there's strength in numbers. And I need you folks to please sign this petition between now and the end of April. And we are going up to Albany, and we are going up fully loaded, and we are going to make our voices heard.
This is amazing. I already, as you know, Pete, I already signed it. So I'm hoping that anyone who's watching, whether you live in New York City or New York State, you sign this too, because this is important. Pete's on the forefront of this. His organization's in the forefront of this. And they're not sitting around. They're not grifting. They're not doing what you see a lot of these other organizations and people doing. They're actually boots on the ground, okay? And like I said, they've been out there at the rallies against the migrant shelters. They were everywhere. Pete was everywhere. I saw it. And so are all his friends that he mentioned, the John Tobaccos of the world, the Curtis Lewis of the world. By the way, he's running for mayor. The Curtis Lewis of the world, the Scott Lebedos of the world, and Pete's right there with them. So I just want to, put this in retrospect, in a retrospect for people. Pete is on the forefront for all of you. What he's doing is amazing work, because again, I don't see anyone else doing this kind of stuff. Go ahead, Pete.
POC with a voice for the children, man. And I just got to give an acknowledgement to my vice president, Ed Wyattrack, who's my right-hand man, my mentor, John Curley, other guys that are out there, like you said, they're in the forefront of this. Yeah, we got Jesus from AOK News. We got Mighty Fuzz. We got John McCarry, one of your friends, one of our friends, a New Yorker, man, that is, he's very proactive. We got Cops for Freedom, who's out here in Staten Island. John Riccadone, he's another NYPD officer who is very active in the protection of children, man. And all of this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for, first of all, the public that gets behind us. Our members, man, we got about 20 members, man, and they are, anytime that we are doing something, they are boots on the ground. I mean, we got called a few weeks back where there was a stabbing in front of the West Brighton housing projects, and the children from 72 were scared to walk a straight line about a half a mile down to their housing projects. And the principal actually gave us a call and asked if POC would get involved with the community and to see fit that these kids get home safely. And we were right out there on the streets, standing point and making sure that these children got home without any interruptions, man. So we are doing what we said we were going to do. There will not be any amount of money that somebody could offer to protect our children that we will not bend at the knee to change our program of what we're doing. You could offer me $2.5 million and tell me, hey, we want you to do this or that. It ain't happening, friend. It's not happening. We're going to stick to our mission to protecting our children and protecting our future by any means necessary, man. So I hope the folks out there can really get behind this petition, and we can make a change. We can make a positive change that will not only affect the children of New York City and New York State, but hopefully if we get this bill passed, it can be a bill that gets passed federally and go right across the United States. That's my bigger picture.
I think you definitely, on the current administration in D.C., that is a huge possibility. I think it's a pretty big possibility you could get that passed.
And my buddy John Curley, my mentor, has direct connections to Washington, to this administration that's in right now. So he's definitely somebody that we're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing him shortly. I'm sure of that. You had Moms for Liberty. I know you know about them.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a lot of noise, and they're getting a lot done for the children. The Department of Education, but POC is at 2025. In these next coming years, you're gonna hear a lot about POC and the way we're gonna change the frame of helping our children.
Pete, it's been a great time here with you today. I hope this is kind of like an introduction for my audience and just everyone in general to learn about what Pete's all about and his organization. And by the way, he's a fellow Paisan. He's Sicilian just like me. So we're both, we have that same passion for things. And I think you're going to make a headway with this. And I think you'll be able to do something. I have faith in you. I believe in you. I believe in your organization, and so do many others. And we just need the eyeballs and the awareness from all of New York City, all of New York, and basically all of America, and then the rest of the world, because we do need to protect our children, Pete. It's just that's bottom line. I mean, that was one of the things I was told as a police officer as well. Because if you don't protect the children, there's nothing left. There's nothing left.
Absolutely, Sal. And I don't care what side of the line you're on, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, we're talking about children here. There should be no gray area as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? On our page, there's a little spot that if the parents want to inform us about something, they can click on POCNY. It says inform us, and they could go right to that and inform us. Really, again, I just want to touch on we will continue to be the voice for the children of New York City and New York State. And please take a moment out to read the petition, sign this petition, because that's going to help us in getting this legislation changed for the Child Accountability Act that we're pushing forward. And God bless you, man, for all the work that you're doing and exposing all the corruption in New York, brother. We need more guys like you out there.
Thank you, Pete. Thanks for coming on. Anything I could do to help, and I'm always here. So is John Macari, Eric Dim, Marlon Beto, the whole Finest Unfiltered family. We're behind you. And again, people, POCNY.org. Check that out for the petition. That'll be up there soon, but you saw it's on petitions. So you saw the actual petition, what it looks like. So please, if you could sign that, help us out, help Pete out. We got to change the legislation here. People, you need to be aware of what's going on. Don't listen to Brian Kilmeade and these other paid people online, because that's not where it's at. It's actually the ground swelling here is from grassroots, the grassroots movement, not Fox News, not Newsmax, not CNN.
They all lost their credibility. It's folks like yourself and myself that are reporting the real news of what's really going on. You know what I mean? So again, like if you go to p.o.c.ny, our Instagram page, the first thing you could click on is the petition. The webpage again, POCNY.org. And let's just continue to protect our children and protect our future, Sal. And I really appreciate your time today. And God bless you, man. God bless.
Amen, Pete. And I hope to see you soon. And we'll be monitoring your activity to make sure that this continues to go in the direction it should be. So thank you very much, Pete.
I will be held accountable at any time, brother. Absolutely. Thank you.
So one final thing before we sign off here for the weekend on the Sal Greco Show. There was an article that was written the other day in regards to an incident that had occurred that I covered on the Sal Greco Show with Eric Dim. So there's a follow-up to that now, and there's a reaction by the New York City Police Department to this. So let me read the article to you. NYPD cops temporarily stripped of guns and shields after arrest of retired cop's son. This is in the New York Daily News, and it's written by Thomas Tracy. The two NYPD police officers were temporarily stripped of their guns and shields over a caught-on-camera arrest where they were recorded punching the son of a retired NYPD detective, and the man's father reached out to department brass, the Daily News has learned. Police officers Brian Guzman and Anthony Riccardi were pulled from the streets and are potentially facing disciplinary charges following the December 7th arrest of Harold Thomas, who told the News he was dozing in the back seat when the officers pulled him and his friends over in Astoria, Queens. Thomas's father, retired first-grade NYPD Detective Harold Thomas, texted the video of the arrest to Mayor Adams, former Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey, and other high-ranking NYPD officers within hours of his son's arrest. The next day, the Internal Affairs Bureau put the two cops on modified assignment, a move NYPD union officials are calling a complete overreaction. We believe the NYPD overreacted by placing these police officers on modified assignment, especially when they were engaged in exactly the type of proactive enforcement that NYPD management has made a priority. Police Benevolent Association President Patrick Hendry said, disciplinary charges haven't been filed against the officers as IAB continues its investigation. Cops are not automatically pulled from the streets if a complaint is filed against them. Traditionally, IAB has to get corroborating evidence and be prepared to file charges to warrant such a step. The incident is under internal review, an NYPD spokesman said Friday. Thomas and his three friends, all Black City and state employees, were returning home from a birthday celebration at a nearby club in a rented Mercedes Maybach when they were pulled over near the corner of 25th Avenue and 49th Street at about 3 a.m., according to a notice of claim filed over the incident. The officers, who were in two unmarked police vehicles, told the driver that the tint on the Maybach's windows was too dark, the claim says. The officers then ordered everyone out of the car and demanded to see their IDs. Thomas, 37, told the news in an interview he was oblivious to all of this. I was asleep in the back seat. Thomas, who works in the facilities department for the city's Department of Probation, told the Daily News. I closed my eyes, and the next thing I remember was there was a flashlight in my face, and I was being told to get the F out of the car. But I had just woken up and had no idea what was taking place. Thomas said one officer demanded to see his ID. Motorists have to show ID when pulled over by police, but cops in most cases can't demand passengers for their ID unless they're suspected of committing a crime. I asked them, why do you need to see my ID? I'm in the back seat, Thomas said. As a son of a retired NYPD detective, Thomas had a handful of Police Benevolent Association courtesy cards in his wallet, a practice under which the cards are often used to signal affiliation with the department during a stop. He took them out with his ID to show the officers, but one of the cops was getting agitated, he recalled. I guess I wasn't moving quick enough for him, Thomas said. The cop told me if I did not get out of the car and provide my ID, he was going to take it from me. I told him, you're not touching me, and I'm going to get out of the car on my own. But he got more frustrated, ran around the car, grabbed me by my shoulders and shirt and yanked me out. Thomas fell to the ground. He was pulled out of the car. The complaint says cell phone video taken by Thomas's friend shows one cop pulling him across the curb by the neck while another punches him in the back and side. Why are you punching him? One of Thomas's friends demanded to know on the video. I was getting out of the car. I do not need your help. Thomas could be heard telling the cops as they handcuffed him. I'm not doing anything. This is ridiculous. Police sources said the three other occupants got out and showed their ID, but Thomas wouldn't immediately comply even after his friends were caught on body-worn camera, encouraging him to do so. Thomas was charged with obstructing government administration and resisting arrest. In a complaint filed with Queens Criminal Court, Riccardi said Thomas refused to get out of the car and planted his feet on the floor inside the vehicle. When the officer tried to handcuff him, Thomas tensed up his arms and kept his arm under his body and clenched said arm to his chest to avoid being handcuffed. There were multiple supervisors on that scene. This individual was the only one in the vehicle who refused to comply with their request. He was concealing his hands and refusing to be handcuffed. He could have easily been concealing a weapon, the PBA's Hendry said. These officers had to use necessary force to gain compliance and protect their safety and the safety of everyone on that scene, Hendry said. We are confident they will be exonerated once the case is fully investigated. At Thomas's arraignment, a Queens Criminal Court judge ordered an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal, meaning if he doesn't get arrested again, the charges will be dismissed. Cops also handcuffed Thomas's friend Benjamin Trai, a mental health therapist aide for the New York State Department of Mental Health, who was driving a car. He was later given a summons for having too much tint on the car's windows, although a tint meter to determine how dark the tint was never used, according to a notice of claim filed against the city. Former Detective Thomas, who now lives in Georgia, was livid when he learned his son was arrested. Also gave him flashbacks to 2012 when he was arrested while off duty after coming out of a nightclub in Manhattan. His namesake was with him at the time, and he felt he was being racially profiled. I was so pissed off, the retired detective said, remembering the moment he was told of his son's arrest and shown the video. I sent the video to Madry and all of the guys. He even sent the video to Adams, a former NYPD captain. The two went to the police academy together, he said. They said he didn't like what they saw and referred me to IAB, former Detective Thomas said. A lot of people need policing, but nobody needs to be roughed up and have their rights violated. Attorney Eric Sanders, who filed a notice of claim, indicated his plans to sue the city, said he's also filed a complaint with the Queens District Attorney's Public Corruption Bureau. The violent and unconstitutional treatment of these four men by the NYPD is a direct violation of their civil rights and another glaring example of racial profiling and police brutality, Sanders said. The officers involved acted with impunity, escalating a baseless stop into a violent assault. I'm one to be, a pro police advocate, but I can't be behind this at all. This stinks. The full video, which we actually showed on the last episode I was on with Eric Dim when we discussed this, it's quite disturbing. But what's more disturbing is the inaction by the police department, despite the fact that the chief of department at that time, Jeffrey Madry, the chief of internal affairs, Miguel Iglesias, and Mr. Eric Adams, the New York City mayor himself, knew about it and did nothing. Just suspending or modifying these two cops means nothing. What about the supervisors? This is a troubling occurrence, a reoccurrence under Eric Adams all the time. Underneath his police department, his administration, it's a disaster. This needs to be fixed. This is not a good arrest. I don't know what anybody thinks out there. OGA is never a good arrest. You do need a tint meter to write these tinted window summonses, or they'll get thrown out. I mean, I worked in CTTF. That's kind of what these guys do. They would write tinted windows. You need a tint meter. So this is a bad stop with no merit to it. But, of course, I can't get in the heads of the police officers that were on the scene. Hopefully this gets resolved, but it shows, once again, the ineptitude of the people in charge at the top, which is mainly the biggest problem here going today. This has been Sal Greco. Thank you for tuning in and watching the Sal Greco Show. I hope everyone out there has a good weekend, and stay safe out there all, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good weekend all.